This slideshow provides an introduction to the UN Sustainable Development Goals, the targets, target action plans, and target actions. This is by far the most significant initiative in the world ever, as you will see. By fully funding and rapidly implementing the SDGs, and that applies to all 194 countries in the world and all significant issues, we will soon have the items listed here. They're on our website also, so you can read them. Any of this stuff, you can read it later on. You don't have to take time now. But essentially, it solves every problem. And ultimately, this will mean we will have a peaceful, prosperous, just, sustainable world. We will not have a utopia. A world without challenges and problems would be boring, and it would be, and of course it's impossible. We will have a few problems now and then, but by and large, once we're successful, we will have all these things. The United Nations has issued 17 Sustainability Development Goals, SDGs. And those have 169 targets, which is an average of 10 targets per SDG. All 194 countries in the world, including the United States, have agreed to implement the UN SDGs and targets in their country. These replace the Millennium Goals. The difference, the SDGs cover everything. The developed countries, including the U.S., have agreed to help the developing countries with their implementation. The developed countries owe these countries, the developing countries, help. For example, we've colonized the countries. That was absolutely unfair. Today it's really illegal, and it should have been illegal a long time ago. But we do owe these countries, and we've also unfairly traded with them. Our IMF and World Bank have loaned them money at usury rates, so we owe the developing countries a lot. And I believe these SDGs will solve some of these problems that the developed countries have caused. Now, the SDGs are fantastic, but they're grossly underfunded and scheduled to take too many years. We'll talk about that a little bit later on. We face many tough challenges, including the ones listed below, which you can read. Obviously, nuclear weapons and their dangers are a tough challenge today. On unemployment, we have at least 30 million people unemployed or severely underemployed in the United States. And there's at least 1 billion in the same situation in the world. Global warming is a tremendous challenge, and we're doing very little about it. Wealth and income inequality is actually getting worse each day. We have inadequate health care. It's way too expensive. Clean water is a problem in Puerto Rico. It's a very serious problem today. We have education problems in our inner cities. The world is 1 billion people without sanitation system sewage. We have very poor governance in almost every country in the world. We have weak institutions, including, for example, the United Nations. We have millions of people and thousands of organizations already working on change and reform all over the world. However, they're not cooperating collaborating and working together from a common strategy and plans nearly well enough. We're duplicating many efforts and missing some very important items. We're getting further behind in many areas, for example, inequality. Here's a continuation of the challenges. Now, the spirit and intent of the SDGs are very clear. They're fantastic and cover everything in the world. However, some of them need rewording. They're severely underfunding and scheduled to take way too much time. The underfunding is enormous. Just one example. There are about 1 billion people living on $2 a day. I would like to see that they become self-sufficient rapidly. That would mean they need about $10 more worth a day. That's $10 billion a day. However, the corporations, as you'll see in this plan, have plenty of money, and the rich people have plenty of money. We just need to have a good taxation system. The other thing, these SDGs have been in effect since January the 1st, 2016. They replaced the Millennium Goals. Our government has done very little to implement them or prepare plans for their implementation, despite the fact that they're committed to do it. Sadly, also, very few people know about these plans. We'll start listing a few of the solutions here. In his book, The Science Society, Eric Fromm states, change must be a simultaneous change in economic, education, political, and cultural spheres. Changes restricted to one sphere are destructive of every change. I can prove this as shown in the plan. But what this means is that we must have a comprehensive, holistic strategy. We're going to change everything, so we need to really have a comprehensive strategy and standard action plans for both the public and private sector that will fix all the significant problems we face and their underlying causes and change all the spheres. These spheres include economics, political, jobs, everything essentially, culture, and the idea is, for example, if we don't change enough of our politicians, it will do very little good to do anything else, because the politicians in the public sector and private sector are all important for this. So both the public and private sector must cooperate, collaborate, and work together, and all significant changes must be coordinated and sequenced carefully. In order to execute this plan, get the SDGs implemented, we have to have an overall strategy. So we have developed what we call the Universal Strategic Plan, USP. And the idea, the goals and the Sustainable Development Goals and the targets are what they say. They're goals and targets. There's a lot of information about them on the internet, but there are actually not much of a plan. So what we've developed is what we call the Target Action Plan, and we've developed 43 of these. They're in various stages of development. We have plans to develop target action plans for all other SDG targets, which will essentially cover every significant issue. Now the idea is, if somebody sees something we really need to develop, then we will develop a target action or a target action plan for it. So the idea is to cover everything in one place. Now those 43 we've developed are the more urgent items. More urgent. Ending wars, ending poverty, ending hunger, combating climate change. And you can see this in the other, when you go to the website. We have, we also, these Universal Strategic Plans makes preparations for the implementation, which will include, now there's about 20 things we're working on, but I put down a couple of the more important ones. A global factual information education program to teach people what sustainability development really means. And what it means, we need to get the world to last forever. So we need to get, right now we're using about 1.5 times as much as we're putting back into the earth per annum. In some areas, way more than that. So we've got to do this rapidly, and we've got to get sustainability going. We're also developing, the idea is to develop and implement parallel plans for cities, counties, states, other nations, and the United Nations that replicate parts of these applicable tasks. And the idea will be, there's work going on this world, it's not coordinated very well, but the idea is to try to use close to the same ideas. It'll obviously be different for different countries. And also, we'll have a computer system that feed back lessons learned from each of these cities, counties, states, other nations, and the United Nations, so that we learn from experience. And it's urgent we get started on this, so climate change is staring us right in the face. This is our final slide, which provides essentially a conclusion and a request for help. The assistance of as many individuals and organizations is needed to help refine and implement this plan. You do not need to know everything there is to know about the plan. You can pick and choose what you want to work on. It's fairly well indexed. We're going to have a better table of contents shortly where you can just easily look up the items you want to work on. You can please go to www.peoplenow.org, and there's ways on there you can find the TAPs, the Target Action Plans, and the Target Actions in which you are interested in, can subscribe. Now there's a massive amount of work to be done. However, if we work, cooperate, work together, it will take less total effort than what we're expending today, because we're duplicating many efforts. But thank you very much. I'm looking forward to working with you to implement this plan, which is the most important initiative in the world ever. Thank you.